Elon Musk just pulled the plug on two of the most iconic cars Tesla has ever made. Not because they stopped selling, not because of a recall. He shut down the Model S and Model X production lines inside the Fremont factory on purpose to make room for something else. Optimus Generation 3. Picture that for a second. The cars that built Tesla's reputation, gone from the assembly line, so a robot with no confirmed price tag can take their place. Some analysts are already calling this an economic formula, one move. Musk is cutting off guaranteed revenue today for a trillion-dollar gamble tomorrow. And, according to people tracking the Fremont restructuring, this is not just factory housekeeping. Several supply chain analysts believe it could be a calculated strike, a way to get ahead of Chinese competitors before they flood the market with humanoid robots priced under $20,000. If you have aging parents, young kids, or you are already wondering who takes care of you when you are older, what you are about to hear should worry you, because by the end of this video, you will understand exactly what Tesla is betting everything on: the 10 billion part gamble. Let us start with what is actually happening on the factory floor, because the numbers here are almost impossible to picture. Optimus Generation 3 is reportedly built from around 10,000 unique components, not 10,000 parts total. 10,000 different, individually engineered pieces, each one custom, built for its exact spot on the robot's body. Every actuator, from the shoulder to the ankle to each individual finger joint, is sized specifically for that one location. That is not how Tesla builds cars. That is closer to assembling 10,000 tiny precision machines and hoping every single one works together perfectly every single time. Here is where the math turns genuinely terrifying. Musk has not said. The real target for Optimus Generation 3 is a few thousand units. He has said it is 1 million robots a year. Do that multiplication with me for a second. If one robot needs 10,000 unique parts, then hitting 1 million units a year means Tesla has to source, build, and assemble 10 billion individual components annually. 10 billion. That is a scale of precision manufacturing that has never existed anywhere in human history. Car factories do not operate at that level of complexity. Smartphone factories do not either. Tesla is proposing something genuinely unprecedented, and it is planning to start this summer. None of this happens in a vacuum either. Tesla has already deployed more than 1,000 earlier Optimus units inside its own factories, quietly collecting real-world data and training the exact AI models Generation 3 will depend on. Those are essentially rough drafts, not the finished product. But it tells you Tesla is not starting from a blank page. It is starting from a robot that has already been watching, walking, and failing in private for months. Power is part of this puzzle too. Each unit reportedly runs on a 3 kilowatt-hour battery pack built from Tesla's own 4680 cells. Good for roughly 5 to 6 hours of light, everyday tasks, before it needs to recharge. That might sound like plenty, until you imagine relying on it to watch a toddler or support someone mid-transfer out of a wheelchair. And the battery indicator starts blinking, but the hands are where this stops being abstract. Optimus Generation 3's hands reportedly have 22 degrees of freedom, packed with sensors, sealed under a water-resistant shell. 22 degrees of freedom sounds like a spec sheet number until you understand what it actually has to do. Gently stroke an elderly person's hair without pulling it. Pick up an egg without cracking the shell. That single motion needs the control system to run millions of pressure calculations per millisecond on every fingertip continuously without a single mistake. One miscalculation, one delayed signal, and that same hand could crush exactly what it was built to protect. Now, here is the detail that should really make you pause. This entire robot is wrapped in a seamless, almost featureless black shell, like a bodysuit, hiding every joint and mechanical seam underneath. Musk has compared the design philosophy to Raptor 3, SpaceX's most advanced rocket engine, famous for extreme performance through radical simplicity. That sounds impressive, sitting on a launch pad in Texas. It sounds a lot more unsettling, standing quietly in your living room, smooth, disguised, and impossible to inspect from the outside. So Tesla has walked away from 2 flagship vehicles, is chasing a component scale nobody has ever attempted, and is wrapping the entire thing in a shell engineered to look effortless. That is the hardware story. But the hardware is not even the part that keeps engineers awake at night, a brain that finally stops freezing. The real brain behind Optimus Generation 3 is a new chip called AI-5. And to understand why it matters, you first need to understand what was wrong with the old one. Picture the previous chip, AI-4, as an incredibly intelligent person who also happens to have a serious memory problem. It can reason, it can recognize objects, it can plan out a task, but every so often, it just freezes. Those are the awkward pauses you have probably noticed in humanoid robot demos, where the machine stops moving for a second, like it is buffering. Because it is. I-5 is meant to be something completely different. Not a smart person with forgetfulness. Think of it more like your own reflexes. When something falls toward your face, you do not consciously decide to catch it. Your nervous system reacts before your brain even finishes processing. What happened? That is the target for AI-5, an unconditioned reflex system built directly into silicon. Here is the actual science behind why this matters so much. And it is one of the most important bottlenecks in modern computing. It is called the von Neumann bottleneck, and it explains something that sounds backwards at first. A robot's reaction speed does not really depend on how powerful its processor is. It depends on how fast data can travel from memory to that processor in the first place. You can build the most powerful brain in the world, but if the wiring between that brain and the hands is slow, the entire system stutters every single time at the worst possible moment. That is exactly the bottleneck AI-5 is reportedly built to solve. It is rumored to deliver roughly 5 times the memory bandwidth of AI-4, meaning Optimus could load and act on massive machine learning models almost instantly, instead of pausing to catch up in plain English. No more stop and think moments. No more robot frozen in your kitchen while it tries to figure out what a spilled glass of water actually is. Now think about what all that speed is actually meant for. Musk has not hidden his priorities here at all. He has talked repeatedly, publicly, at events like the World Economic Forum, about Optimus eventually handling childcare and elder care specifically, reminding an aging parent to take medication on time, detecting a fall before it turns into an emergency, alerting family the second something goes wrong. On paper, that is an incredible answer to a real and painful problem, a global caregiver shortage, and a generation of families stretched too thin to physically be there. There is a quieter promise buried in all of this, too. Musk has suggested Optimus could double as a companion, not just a caretaker, something that combats the isolation so many older adults quietly live with once family moves away and friends pass on. That is a genuinely humane idea, but a companion that only works as long as its reflex chip performs flawlessly is not really companionship. It is a dependency, and dependencies come with conditions attached. But a faster reflex system controlling a 70-kilogram machine standing next to your parents is not just a technical upgrade. It is a decision to trust split-second, autonomous judgment with someone's physical safety, and speed without absolute reliability. Is not a feature, it is a countdown. The China problem. Nobody wants to admit. Now, let us slow down, because a responsible look at this story has to include the part Elon Musk himself admitted on the record during Tesla's Q1 2026 earnings call. He said plainly that he cannot predict Optimus production volume for this year. Not because Tesla is hiding some secret breakthrough, because a significant portion of Optimus Generation 3's components, especially the motors and actuators, still have to be imported directly from China rather than built in-house. Musk himself has said this will follow a slow S-curve, a rough start followed by rapid acceleration. Not an overnight explosion. That admission matters because it directly contradicts one of the most popular fan theories floating around online. Right now, the idea that Tesla is secretly far ahead of schedule and just waiting to shock the world before Chinese competitors catch up. According to Musk's own comments on social media, production will be, in his words, extremely slow at first because everything is new, and this is not like making a car. Here is the uncomfortable truth most hype videos leave out entirely. China is not playing catch-up in humanoid robotics. Multiple currently holds a dominant share of the global humanoid robot supply chain, with commercial products like Unitree's G1 already shipping at aggressively competitive prices. So while Tesla is trying to build a supply chain from scratch for 10,000 unique components, the very country it needs those components from is simultaneously building and selling its own competing robots. That is not a footnote. That is arguably the single biggest variable in whether Optimus ever reaches Musk's million-unit target. Remember that formula. One framing from the beginning of this video, the idea that Musk is racing to beat Chinese manufacturers to the punch. Here is the twist. Nobody likes to say out loud, you cannot outrace a competitor while still buying your engine parts from their garage. If the very components that make Optimus move have to come from Chinese suppliers, then China is not just a rival in this race. It is also, quietly, a supplier standing at the finish line. If the tariff disputes and the motor patent disagreements between the United States and China do not get resolved, it is not out of the question that Optimus' full commercial rollout could get pushed back significantly further than investors and fans are currently expecting. This is not financial advice, and nobody can predict markets with real certainty. But when the man building the product tells you, out loud, that he cannot predict his own supply chain, that is worth taking seriously. There is also the price question everyone keeps bringing up. Remember that original $20,000 to $30,000 target that got so much attention. Musk has already acknowledged that number is likely to change. Not confirmed higher, not confirmed lower, just, in his own words, a different number entirely. So, if you were quietly planning your future finances around an affordable Optimus for elder care, that plan may already need an update. So here is where we actually stand. Revolutionary hardware, a genuinely novel chip architecture, and a supply chain that depends heavily on the same country racing to beat Tesla at its own game. That tension alone would make this a fascinating story on its own. But it is not even the part that should worry you the most. The question that should actually keep you up at night. Here is the part of this story that should genuinely concern you, whether or not you care about robots at all. Optimus Generation 3 is expected to launch with roughly 1,000 basic tasks, and a huge share of those tasks are meant to move straight out of the factory and into private homes, nursing facilities, and hospitals. Feeding a grandparent, walking the family dog, lifting someone out of a wheelchair, watching a toddler for a few minutes while a parent showers. Think about why this is even being proposed in the first place. Musk keeps pointing to something that is genuinely, undeniably real: a global shortage of caregivers, rising costs of elder care, families who are geographically or financially unable to be present for aging parents the way they wish they could be. The social safety net in many countries is already stretched painfully thin, and a machine that never gets tired, never calls in sick, and never asks for a raise looks on paper like a rescue plan. But a smartphone getting hacked costs you money and maybe some privacy. A Tesla with a full self-driving glitch triggers automatic braking as a built-in safety net. Neither of those failure modes ends with someone getting physically hurt in the exact moment. It happens. Now picture a 70-kilogram robot made of metal and motors, running an operating system connected to Grok, holding your child, or supporting your elderly parent who just had spinal surgery. At the precise moment, a software bug or a hacker takes control. That is not a hypothetical thought experiment for entertainment. That is the literal safety category. Optimus is being designed to operate inside of every single day. This is not science fiction paranoia either. History has already shown us that industrial systems and automated infrastructure have been successfully hit by remote cyber attacks, forcing operators to shut entire systems down just to contain the damage. A phone or a laptop getting compromised means you lose data. A robot that can lift, walk, and grip getting compromised means physical consequences in real time inside your own home. Musk has said openly that Optimus has to be more secure than anything Tesla has ever built, specifically because the stakes here are so much higher than a data breach. And this is not just a private, personal risk either. Once thousands, then eventually millions of these robots are running the same core software across homes, hospitals, and nursing facilities worldwide. A single flaw stops being a single flaw. It becomes a shared vulnerability sitting inside every home that trusted the same machine. Security researchers have warned for years that smart devices get targeted precisely because they are everywhere, all running the same code, all sharing the same weaknesses. Now stretch that same warning across a machine that can walk, lift, and grip deployed with the same physical intimacy as a caregiver. That is not a small detail buried in a spec sheet. That is the entire ballgame. And there is one more detail that deserves real attention. Musk has floated the idea that Optimus could eventually learn brand new tasks simply by watching YouTube videos, the same rough way a person learns by observation. That sounds efficient right up until you remember how the internet actually works. A system that learns from video does not just absorb the helpful, careful tutorials. It gets exposed to everything else uploaded alongside them too, including careless, reckless, or deliberately harmful content. A robot that imitates what it watches is only worst video as safe as the worst video it has ever been shown. So ask yourself honestly, right now, are you comfortable handing the physical care of the people you love most to a machine whose reflexes are faster than yours, but whose mind was partly shaped by the open internet? So where does that actually leave us? Tesla has bet 2 flagship car lines, an entirely new chip architecture, and a supply chain nobody has ever attempted at this scale. All on a robot that might not even reach shelves at the price anyone was originally promised. The hardware is genuinely stunning. The ambition is real, but so is the risk, and so is the dependence on a rival nation racing to beat Tesla to that exact same finish line. Here is the question I actually want you to sit with. If robots like Optimus end up working 24 hours a day, never sleeping, never getting paid, should governments start taxing these machines at 50%, specifically to help fund the human welfare systems they are quietly replacing? And more importantly, would you personally hand over the physical safety of your aging parents or your own children to an algorithm running inside a machine? Or is that just modern society finding a new, comfortable way to avoid showing up for the people we love? There is no easy answer here, and I genuinely want to know where you land. Drop your take in the comments below, because this conversation needs more than one perspective. If this video actually changed how you think about where this technology is heading, do one thing before you go. Hit subscribe and turn on notifications, because we are far from done with this story. Optimus Generation 3 begins production this summer, and we will be tracking every update, every leak, and every Musk claim as it happens, before anyone else covers it. Next up, we are breaking down exactly how far China's humanoid robot industry has actually scaled, and whether Unitree, not Tesla, ends up winning this race first. You will not want to miss that one.